Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MFC Bantamweight Tito Jones. Tito, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Tito, you got a fight coming up October 4th at MFC 38. How's training been going for the fight?
Training's been going as good as it can. I'm ready to rock and roll. Feeling good.
Where are you training out of? Are you still training out of Arizona Combat Sports?
Yeah, I trained out of Arizona Combat Sports for most of this camp, and then I came back home. I actually Panama City, Florida, here in northern Florida, and there's a new gym that just opened up. Came back here just to sharpen up and do all the conditioning aspects here back home.
Now, is this something that's new to you, or have you done this in the past where you've started your training camp at one spot and then at the end of it went to a different place?
Well, this is actually new to me. Usually my training camps are on the other side of the country, away from my friends, family, all that stuff, and comfort zone or where I'm comfortable. So this one's actually been really, really great because I actually got to have a place here to be able to train in my hometown to do the finishing things on my training camp.
For a while, you were training in Sacramento with Team Alpha Male. Just curious, why did you decide to leave there?
Well, like I said earlier, it's kind of rough when you're from here, Florida, and all your friends, family are here. And for about 3-4 years, I gave up just doing this fighting thing, being on the side of the country. You are missing the important things, family, friends, stuff like that. So that's one of the main reasons I left there. And now, like I just left last time to go to Arizona to just do a camp. I don't want to give up being gone the whole time, full time. I like to go and just train for a camp and then come back here because now I have an efficient gym here to train at in my hometown. So it's not a big deal. You used to not have that before.
Now, with having a gym so close by to home, is there a possibility that you won't go anywhere else to train, or will you still kind of do the semi-training in one spot and then train in the other? Okay.
I'll always pick it up. I mean, Arizona Combat Sports is a big gym, and Trevor Lawley's over there, and that's where I started. That's where I began my MMA career, even prior to going to Team Alpha Male.
Right.
So I know with the fights that come up, I know you can't do it on your own, and I have a good gym here, but sometimes I have to step it up and go to the bigger gym. So I don't have it. That will never be an issue.
You mentioned that you are originally from Florida. Just curious, what brought you to Arizona? You mentioned that you started your career at Arizona Combat Sports. What brought you west?
Well, I'm from northern Florida, which is basically southern Alabama with the beach. And there's not much at the time when MMA first started taking off. When I turned pro, I think 2006. There wasn't really much around here at the time. There was actually nothing. And I just knew I wanted to do MMA. I knew the West Coast, California, Arizona, Nevada, you have a better opportunity. And I knew one person that stayed in Arizona, so I saved a little bit of money, packed up, and just drove out there, chasing a dream to become a professional MMA fighter.
Now, who are some of the guys that you're working with at Arizona Combat Sports, and then who are some of the guys that you're working with back in Florida?
Well, I had Arizona Combat Sports. I had Jamie Varner, John Moraga. You got a lot of guys there. I mean, you got UFC guys, Bellator guys now. So we had a really solid camp there in Arizona. Here in Florida, it's mostly a jiu-jitsu gym. So I get to really tighten up on my jiu-jitsu, and I have a couple pros here. There's a pro here, his name is Joe Murphy, who's a fighter from Alaska, up-and-coming fighter. I think he's 4-0 or 4-1, something like that. So he's been solid to train with for sparring and things like that here. So like I said, being here after the camp in Arizona, being there for 6 months or half a year, when I came here, it's just basically just to sharpen up and really put an emphasis on my conditioning and cardio, and just sharpening my sword with my stand-up and making sure I keep on par with my grappling and all that other stuff.
When you got the offer for this fight till now, all together with your training, how long has this training camp been for you?
How long have I been? I've been training. I don't like to say I train for a camp because I'm always training hard. Only thing different when I got the fight notice is I just have to start monitoring my weight. So I got word of this about 2 months ago, I think. 2 months ago. But it's been enough time. It's been a solid training camp. So.
If I heard correctly, you said 6 months you were training out in Arizona. With the training, that takes up a lot of your time. So are you a full-time fighter, or do you work a second job?
Oh, yeah. At that point in time, and right now still, Never for a long time. I've been full-time fighter. Once in a while, I might work like a security gig or something like that. But even when I was at Ultimate Fitness with Uriah and all those guys, I worked in the gym. So I teach a couple classes here and there, and that's the same thing I did when I was at Arizona Combat Sports. And it afforded me the time to be able to train a lot. And this last time I went to Arizona, it was basically just like almost like I went off to a hermitage or something, because I went and I literally slept in the gym for close to 6 months in the office on the couch, just so I can be there and really train. So,
I see.
Like I said, I've gotten enough training and I'm more than ready for this fight.
You haven't fought since September of last year. You were on a roll up until that point. You were on a 3-fight win streak. Why has things slowed down for you? Is it because you signed with MFC and this is the first card that was available for them to put you on, or were you having trouble getting fights before then? Why the year layoff?
Well, before signing with MFC, I was having trouble getting fights. I guess I'm in a weird position. When you have up-and-comers when gyms are trying to advance an up-and-comer, and you see a guy that has experience and has fought Strike Force or Japan Valley Chill and things like that, and they look me up, it's not usually their first option, like, hey, this should be a guy, this guy should fight, because I'm an experienced veteran. And then at the same time, on the flip side of that, so if I really want to get a fight, I have to go fight, I guess, in for chump change, $100, $200, $300. And the thing is, I don't do it for the money, but I'm not stupid either. And one thing I don't want to do is sell myself. I think that's a big problem with the sport. You got too many guys just taking fights for no money, so it makes it easy for promotions it makes it harder for the people that deserve the money to ever get paid now. And I don't want to contribute to that. So, and just been having a lot of trouble getting fights, and that's what was happening when I got signed at MSC. Because now it's like, well, now I know I'm going to get fights. There's no way. At least 3 fights I know I have guaranteed. Hopefully.
So there was basically no other offers on the table for you? It was just MFC, or just, continue to struggle along?
There's MFC. Yeah, there's MFC, and my coaches were working for, I believe, the 1FC.
Right.
So there's a really weird point where I was going to find either or. The ultimate goal for most of us fighters, a lot of us eventually want to reach the UFC.
Right.
But where I'm at now, I'm really, really happy to fight for the MFC. There's nowhere else actually that I'd rather fight at this point, besides the UFC. That's the ultimate goal. But right now, I'm happy exactly right where I am, and I'm content with everything else I've done. So I'm just riding the lightning. I'm just happy to be able to be doing what I like to do, love to do.
Now, what was your reaction when you got the offer from MFC, and then when they said that the first fight you're going to have for the organization is going to be for the belt? What was going in your head when you heard that? Because I'm sure you were very excited, because you hadn't fought in a year, and I'm sure you would have loved to just get a fight regardless of where you were on the card or what you were fighting for. But when you got that call for the title, what was the feeling that you had?
I was elated when I found out. I was really excited. And even made it more exciting when I found out that I was fighting Burchak, because this isn't mentioned much. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but my last fight was for a regional show in Arizona called Collision to Combat, and I was fighting for 135-pound championship of that show. And my originally scheduled opponent was Anthony Burchak. Right. And he was pulled out of the fight. I don't know the circumstances of that, and I'm not going to speculate. But he was pulled out of the fight, and on short notice I had to take a fight against a guy from Gilbert Grappling, another guy, I think he's from Chicago, who I was not training for, because Anthony's about my size and everything. This guy was like a little short 5'4" guy or 5'5" guy. And I was at the last minute. So being able to now close that chapter for me and Anthony, it feels like Anthony and I kind of started something. Let's go ahead and finish it now, and that's a really great feeling. Yeah, I've seen some of the interviews that you've done in the past leading up to this fight, interviews that you've done, promoting this fight, but that's one question that I never saw asked, because, I gotta believe, and you just confirmed it for me, but I had to have believed, because you guys come from the same circuit, he's out in Arizona, you're out in Arizona, you fought George Roop once upon a time ago. He's the guy who trains with Anthony Burchak, so my question was going to be, hey, was he ever somebody who was on your radar, but you just confirmed that for me, because you were supposed to fight him your last fight back in September of 2012. So a lot of people don't know that, and that's what makes it, to me, I think that actually makes this fight intriguing. The fans, they got to vote on who the main event
for MFC 38 is going to be. There was 3 options. There was your fight against Anthony Burchak for the bantamweight title. There was also Jason South versus Sam Alvey for the middleweight title, and then Anthony Hamilton versus Salim Orama for the heavyweight title. All 3 of those bouts, the fans were able to vote on them, and whoever they wanted to be in the main event is the fight they selected, and then whoever got the most votes was the main event, and then second most is co-main event, and then the third most is the third fight on the card. The fans voted for your fight, and now your fight against Anthony Burchak is going to be the main event. Why do you think the fans decided to pick your fight over the other 2?
Well, I guess when you watch, they know it's going to be exciting. They know me and Anthony are probably going to go 100 miles per hour. And I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to talk about myself too much, but
right.
I guess they have a sense that me and Anthony are going to bring the fight. And I think anybody gets that sense, they want to see that. And then you take into account that we're the little guys, so we're going to go at it, and it's going to be fun and fast and exciting. So hopefully, Anthony and I get to live up to that on October 4th.
You mentioned before that you've fought in pretty big shows before. Strikeforce, Japan Valley Tudo, 2 very good organizations. You fought for them in the past. Now you're getting another opportunity in another big show. You're fighting in the largest MMA promotion in Canada. What does this opportunity mean to you?
It means it's a chance for me to go out there and have fun. Like, I've had a shift in the way I look at the game, and that's it. It helped me improve a lot. I don't really put too much thought into stuff like you just asked,
right? Because
it keeps me in the future. I don't, and the thing about when you think about too much emphasis on I gotta win or I don't want to lose, then you're driven by fear, because you're either fear that you have to win or fear that you don't want to lose. I just made the game really simple. That's the change I've had that's helped me turn around the way things have been going in the sport for me. Is I just have fun. I just go in there. This is what I love to do, and when I go in there, my main focus is my performance and to perform on the best of my ability, and have a good time while doing it. So it's just I really don't give too much thought about stuff that's supposed to happen in the future. Worry about the now, right now.
Now that you're signed with MFC, is that something that's important to you, is to have that same place that you're going to fight for a couple fights here in a row? Is that something that's important to you? Because when you were fighting for Strikeforce, that really wasn't a kind of long-term thing for you, because they didn't have that weight class. There was no real division. They were putting on fights in those weight classes, but there wasn't they weren't really committed to the lighter weight classes under 155 pounds. Now that you're signed with MFC, an organization that is committed to your weight class, is that something that's really important, having that home?
Well, that was the main thing, because at one point in time, I had my coaches were trying to work to get me into the 1FC. Right. I don't know how far along they were or how much that was a possibility, but they were supposed to be in touch with some people there. I thought that'd be pretty cool, because it'd give me an opportunity, because I'm a mixed ethnicity, and I would have the opportunity to go to the Philippines and fight, potentially. But it would have been great, because that's also televised, where you can get some kind of, you can get a scene fighting for that show for the diehard fan. But at the same time, it's also like, well, that's just a one-fight deal. What's next after that? When I got the word with the MFC, that was what made me really excited about it. It's basically like, if you're a contractor and you're building houses, you're excited when you find out, hey, I got 3 jobs to do now, And that's exactly the same way I view it with the MFC, and that kind of leaned me towards the decision.
Now, on October 4th, you're going to be fighting Anthony Burchak. You're very familiar with him, having come from the same scene as him. You're in the same circuit as he is, because you're both from Arizona, and you were scheduled to fight him once before. Just curious, where do you feel that you have the advantage in this fight?
Everywhere.
Really?
That's simple.
So, you obviously are very confident, and you said that you feel that you're better than him everywhere, but what are some things that you have to go into the fight being kind of, I don't want to say worried, but when you're in there fighting him, what do you have to be cautious of? What does he bring to the table?
Well, I'll use the word aware, because what I have to be aware of is I know he strikes to grab. Right. And he wants to utilize his wrestling. But the thing is, like I said, I spent living out there too some years with Team Alpha Male, trained in Arizona Combat Sport, Jamie Varner and tough wrestlers over there. His kind of wrestling isn't the type of wrestling like a Chad Mendes, the dangerous kind of wrestling, shoot double leg you to death kind of guy. He said, really, he's a technical wrestler, he's tough, but that's nothing I've never seen before. And I watched his last fight, and he did really good with wrestling that guy, but that guy's supposed to be a 25er, you know?
Right.
So I know he's going to, I mean, if he wants to stand and just make it a stand-up fight, that would be awesome. That's what I hope would happen. But I know I have to be aware that he's going to want to go to his ground. His camp's telling him to go to ground because that's where he feels he's going to have the best shot. And that only makes sense. I can understand that coming from him. So that's what I expect.
You're fighting for the first ever MFC Bantamweight title. How many title fights have you had over the course of your career?
Actually, me and George Root, we fought for some. I had one title fight. I forgot what it was. I held the little belt and raised in the cage at one point in time, actually. And then me and George Root, I think we might have fought for the state. I fought him some belts. And then, what else did I fought for a belt? I fought for a belt in New Jersey show. I forgot this pretty big show where I think where Frank Yeager and those guys came out of. Up in Atlantic City.
Ring of Combat?
Then my last fight was say that again?
Ring of Combat?
Yeah, Ring of Combat. Yeah. I fought for the belt there, didn't get that on 35, and then I won my last title fight, and that's one for Collision of Combat, and now I'm fighting for a belt again. So this is by far the largest stature belt that I'm fighting for.
Now, Tito, when you envision this fight and you think about the ways that this fight can end, paint us the picture. What do you see happening in this fight?
Well, see a lot of things. If it goes to the ground, it's going to be really interesting because I think he's going to be surprised at where I'm at on the ground and my strength and my abilities on the ground, my wrestling and my grappling. And I think a lot of people might know that might be kind of quick, but I think they don't really have a good idea of it until they get in the cage. And I think when we're in there and he sees my speed and power, it's going to totally change everything that he's training for. So as far as ending this fight, I don't want to give away my secrets too much right now, but I feel like I have a couple tools to be able to end it. But I don't want to say it because I don't want him to be on the lookout for what I've been working on.
Tito, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, I'd like to definitely thank the fans first for voting me and Anthony and I fight to be main event. And I'd like to thank the fans and friends and family that supported me all the way through this, through my career and the whole time. I'd like to thank the Most High. Whatever you guys can put, you can insert whatever name applicable for anybody out there. But I do feel like there's a higher presence that kind of guides me through life. And Rev Gear, my manager Chuck, Panama City BJJ, Arizona Combat Sports, and Trevor Lally, and those guys out there. They've been monumental in helping me. And that's pretty much it.
Tito, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck October 4th at MFC 38 against Anthony Burchak.
Okay, thanks so much for having me on. You have a great night.